Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey guys, this is Coach Whitney coming at you with another Workout Wednesday. Today on the Wellness with Whitney Hill channel, we're going to do something a little bit different. We've been on a road trip today, and considering it's just now the 2nd of January of 2019, most of us have probably been on a road trip at some point during this holiday season. So I wanted to do a little bit of a mobility workout for if you've been on the road to kind of stretch out your hamstrings, your glutes, that low back that tend to get a little bit tight from sitting in the car the whole day. So to get started, I want us to just come down onto your knees. And from here, I like to always just get a nice tall torso. And I just start with twisting side to side. That way I can just kind of get that back nice and loose. And today I'm just going to walk you through, nice and easy, some of the stretches I do right when I get off the road. So I sit down, I'm going to stretch the back right to left. I'm going to hold a few times. And apologize in advance for my dogs that are arguing in the backyard. They play fight a lot. But I then try to think about stretching my hip flexors. So those get kind of locked up from sitting in that seated position all day. So after I stretch my back right to left a few times, get a good pop in my spine, I then like to think about putting my hands right here, right at that low back area. And I'm going to just kind of think about looking up towards the ceiling and pushing my hips forward. Woo. And lean back. And then I'll come forward for a second. Take a breath. Lean back. You can do a couple passes of this little knee bend, back bend, as I call it. And again, anytime I feel that low back kind of tighten, I just go back with my twist right to left, get nice and comfortable in this position to stretch out my quads right here. And if you want to, go ahead and lean back and get a nice stretch through those hip flexors again. You can kind of walk your hands back. Go ahead and lean down a little bit. Really think about letting go of that tight area. Right here through your hip flexors is going to be a little more tightened up from just sitting. So really try to think about relaxing, keeping those knees down and pushing back into your shoulders for a nice little stretch. And then I'm going to come forward and I do a little runner's lunge sequence. So this is one of my favorite ones to do even for a warm-up before I squat or anything like that. I just like to come up into a nice lunge position, and I'm going to think about pushing that hip down into the floor. You can hear things pop. That knee's going to move to the outside, and I'll keep my chest up nice and tall, pushing my hip down to the floor, holding that for a few seconds. And then you can come down, bringing one arm to the ground, and think about bringing your elbow all the way to your instep if you have that flexibility range. If not, you can just keep your hands up. But this one, you're going to feel a little bit more of a stretch through the back of your hip. And then from here, I just think about rocking back into my hamstring. So you're going to feel a nice, deep stretch through your hamstring right here. That's going to be nice and tight from sitting in the car. And if you really think about sinking your hip down to the floor, you'll start to feel that stretch through your glute and into your low back. And from here, I just try to think about relaxing my neck forward, just to get an extra stretch through my upper spine and through my neck. And then I like to just drop into a little pigeon pose. So I'm going to bring my foot across in a nice little 90-degree angle, and then I'm going to drop down, trying to keep my hips centered, and I keep my chest nice and tall. So if you have the flexibility, your hips are going to sink down to the floor. You'll feel that nice stretch throughout that outside of your hip into your IT. That is definitely going to be feeling it after you've been in the car for a bit, locked up in that little 90-90 position. And then you can just step back out of that and repeat that same sequence on the other leg. So it's just pushing that hip down to the floor for a minute, dropping the hands down, potentially drop to that elbow if you can. Stretch back into that hamstring, and then come across into that pigeon pose. So these are just some of the quick stretches I like to do while I'm getting home from a long road trip. My IT tends to get super tight, so I love hanging out in this pigeon for a minute. And then from here, I just like to sit in a nice butterfly position. And for the first one, I'll bring it in as close as I can, still thinking about pulling my chest through my elbows, trying to stretch my spine nice and tall. Hold this guy for a few seconds, and then I'll even think about squishing my feet out a little bit and then leaning forward, not trying to push my knees out, but just trying to lean forward to where I feel that low back stretch. And if you're lucky, you might even feel straight into that SI joint, that little bitty part between your tailbone and your hip bone. You might feel that start to open up. So I just try to lean forward with those feet pushed out. Breathe into these stretches, guys. I'm moving through them nice and quick, but make sure if you're doing these, you can always hold them for 30 seconds to 60 seconds each hold. Then you can do a nice little pike stretch to stretch those hamstrings out. Make sure to pull those toes towards you. Taking deep breaths, relaxing your body. And then you can even think about grabbing your heels and dropping your chin to your chest. By dropping your chin to your chest, you're going to feel a mega stretch between your scapulas and into your neck. So hold this again for 30 seconds to a minute on each of these stretches, guys. I'm just trying to move through a little quicker just to see how this video works out. From here, I'll flip over into a cobra stretch. I'll stretch out my tummy by pushing my chest up towards the ceiling, letting my hips fall towards the floor, relaxing into this nice stretch. This is one of my favorite ones when we get off the road. Open everything up real nice. Big deep breath. And then from here, I just like to do a standard straddle sequence. So I'm going to go out into a nice straddle pose. From here, I'm just going to go right side, left side, middle. I'm going to try to stay nice and tall through that spine. So what I like to think about doing is coming up through the middle, and then I'm going to lean over towards one side, letting it stretch out through my rib cage. And then I'll think about stretching up nice and tall and leaning over to the other side. Hold these for 30 seconds to 60 seconds with big deep breaths, guys. And then I'll think about coming up nice and tall and reaching towards that middle. And if you can, reach your hands out nice and wide towards the ground. Keep on reaching. Get that nice stretch through your low back. You're going to feel some strength through your hamstrings, and that's okay. Try to relax and breathe into those tight areas. Sorry, my dog's whining at the door. She's looking at me and doesn't want me to be in here. But those are just some of my few favorite stretches. I'll sit here and butterfly a little bit, open my hips up, but basically anything to get me out of that seated 90-90 position, guys. Hope this was helpful today, and I hope that this was something new that maybe you haven't seen yet. I tried it out on my camera today that my husband got me for Christmas, so we're doing this as a little test run. Hope it goes well, and I hope y'all had a very Merry Christmas and a blessed Happy New Year Eve. Whatever you might have done. If you stayed in, that's great. If you went out, that's awesome. I hope that you stayed safe. But I hope that you have great plans for this up and coming 2019. I hope that you have gratitude on your list as I do, and just growth in general, guys. I hope that you have blessings upon blessings, and I thank you so much for watching my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so that anytime I post a new video like this, you'll get a little notification on your phone. And then you can follow me on my Instagram at Coach Whitney Hill and keep up with me at a little more live action. So you would have seen my ski trip this weekend if you followed me. And then you can also shop my awesome activewear anytime at myzia.com/WhitneyHill. And that is also kept up with at actively.wild Instagram page. So I have a few pages you can keep up with me on Instagram. And then if you ever want to check out what I offer with my coaching, I have CoachWhitneyHill.com, and that has a little breakdown of everything I offer, guys. So I can help you with macros, workouts, whatever it is you need. I'm here for everything, guys, and I hope that you have an actively wild new year. and a blessed one. Thank you so much. Mwah.